So since we mentioned Christopher Parkening and Randy Rhoads, I really want to know pros and cons about classical guitar and electric guitar.
Goodness. Remember, you're going to make two different worlds very upset with me.
Welcome everyone to the Augustine Strings Wind-Up. This is a series of conversations where we have different guitarists that live in New York City or that are passing by New York City, which is the case today with Garrett Podgorski. My name is Edu Gutterres. I'm a classical guitarist from Brazil. I'm an Augustine Strings artist, and I'm happy to be the host for this series of interviews. As I said, today we have Garrett Podgorski today with us. Tell us what you're doing here in New York first.
Yeah, I was just auditioning for Manhattan School of Music in Manhattan, New York, and I was here for a week, so I thought it'd be fun to get to do this with y'all. So.
And where do you live now?
I currently live in Malibu, California.
Nice. Did you like your staying in New York?
I loved it. It was a little rainy this week, but I still love New York. Yeah.
Great. So before we start, let me just tell you what's going to happen here. Yeah. For each string that you change, there will be a different topic of questions. The first string is just an entree. I'm going to ask you about, I don't know, something random. The second string, we're going to talk about beginnings, the B string. Yeah. The third string, G string, we're going to talk about gear or your guitar. Yep. Then the fourth string, we're going to talk about dreams, D string. Mm-hmm. The fifth string, artificial intelligence, came up with questions for you that I'm going to read. And then the sixth string, my name is Edu with an E, E string. I can ask you whatever I want.
Perfect.
So we'll see what's going to happen.
Let's do it.
Before we start, you told me that you're here in New York for auditions, and I know you have a recital coming. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit what you're playing now? What will be in your recital? And one more question, actually. Yeah. I know you have an album coming.
Yeah.
Are some of the tracks of your album in your senior recital or not?
No, they're not. So yeah, starting with, I have a senior recital coming up in April. It's just kind of my undergrad finish. That's the finish point of my undergrad. So I'll be playing works from Piazzolla to Bach to Taroba. A lot of the classics I'll be playing through that program. It's going to be a completely solo recital, which I'm really excited about. So that'll be at Pepperdine University in April. And as far as the album I have coming up, I write instrumental acoustic guitar songs. Nice. So I kind of do the classical thing, but I also write on acoustic guitar. So I have a 12-track instrumental acoustic album coming out in the middle of this year. So that'll be all original music, no covers of any Bach or anything like that. But I plan to do a classical album very soon as well. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we can start changing the guitar strings actually. And I want to keep in that topic actually.
Yeah.
You're also, you're going to use Paragon today, right?
Yes.
Let me show you the Paragon. So you said, where is Pepperdine University? Actually?
Malibu, California.
Good.
A very nice area.
And you did your undergrad there, you finishing?
I did, yeah. So I started in 2020 when COVID was here. So my first year of classes were on Zoom, which was playing guitar on Zoom, if anyone doesn't know, is like the most difficult thing because it breaks up. Tone isn't anything you can even think about. But once we got in person in 2021, that's when I really started to learn from Professor Parkening and my professors there.
I really want to talk about this later today. Yeah. But I also want to ask you some other things about your album that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Since when are you recording it, and when did you start recording? And
yeah, so I actually haven't recorded it yet. I'm planning on. I'm recording it in May, around May-ish area, and then I'm going to be releasing it in the following months. So I've been in the writing process lately. So over my last 4 years at Pepperdine, I've kind of just been writing almost as a cool down for me. With classical, it can be very academic in some sense, where it just, less creative flow can happen. Whereas when I feel like I'm on an acoustic guitar, sometimes I feel like I can let my creativity flow a little bit. Thank you. So I've kind of been, when I get home after a late night practice session, I might pick up the acoustic guitar and just kind of write. And that's kind of how this album has been coming about.
Nice.
I write about different experiences that I've been through, different events, different people. So a lot of them are very personal to me, which I'm really excited to get to share with people. And I really feel like music has a way of telling a story that's not as descriptive as words. You know, it's very up to interpretation. And what I portray, maybe you may feel that, but you may feel something else that I really think music can do. So
I like what you said now. You said after a long day practicing the classical guitar, you get the acoustic guitar to chill. How is this real? The balance between these two types of music or two different instruments?
Yeah, well, right now studying classical guitar, that's obviously the first priority because you know, recitals coming up, performances. So that's obviously like I have a strict, you know, practice time for that where I'm very, very strict on how long I practice for that. And then it's really if I have time and I feel like still playing the guitar, which sometimes is not, that's not the case. You know, sometimes I want to enjoy and watch a movie or something, but usually I'll kind of find some time to play acoustic guitar. It's usually at night too, which is really interesting. It's like a late night session. I'll just pick up the guitar and just start writing whatever I feel comes to my mind. And it's really cool because with classical, a lot of the time, you know, you'll be playing a lot of great ideas, and a lot of those ideas can influence your writing too, because you're constantly playing these great pieces by Bach and you know, Piazzolla and all these people. So
following you on social media and everything, I know you're very into this both worlds, like classical and I can say popular. I don't know.
electric. Yeah,
electric acoustic guitar. And also this leads to the second string. I see that you're finishing the first string, but also talking about your beginnings, because I know you went viral on YouTube playing electric guitar, right?
Yeah.
And I really want to know about this video, how it all worked, how it began, your studies with the guitar. For those of you who don't know, it's a video of Garrett playing Eruption on YouTube, and it's, how old were you?
I was 10 years old at the time, so.
You should watch it.
Yeah, watch it.
Very
if you haven't seen it, it might be on your YouTube recommended. But yeah, the story of that was I had been playing guitar for 1 year, so I started when I was 9. I started studying under a student of Randy Rhoads, actually. So that was my kind of dive into the rock and metal scene. Her name was Janet Robin. She was a student of Randy's, and I really was into the heavy metal, Van Halen, Guns N' Roses, Ozzy Osbourne scene. I was also at the time playing upright bass in middle school for the orchestra, because I remember no one wanted to play bass. Like they called out everyone, like, who wants to play bass? No one raised their hand, and I was like, I think I should do this. You know, it's more music, right? So I started doing that, and we had a classical music concert coming up, and I remember my mom was like, you should play something for that. You should play your electric guitar. And I was like, for a classical music concert? Like, and she was like, mine as well. And so we asked my teacher, and she was like, yes, of course. And my mom recorded it and decided to put it on YouTube just for fun. And I think it blew up maybe a few years later. It didn't blow up instantly. It was just kind of right after. So yeah. It's
good to know this part of the story, because I watched the video and I was like, oh, there's an orchestra and you're playing electric guitar and everybody's looking at you. So you were playing that on that concert?
I was, yeah.
You were playing the bass?
That was a break, yeah. I took a break from the bass, and we probably just played some Beethoven right before that, and then just went straight to some heavy metal.
Okay, so this was 1 year after you started playing the electric guitar. So you learned very fast.
I did. I was obsessed with it. The reason was because my sister actually started taking lessons from the same teacher. My sister, I have an older sister who's 28 now. So when she was taking lessons, I wanted to be better than her, like 100%. That was the reason. I thought it was annoying that she was better than me, better at guitar than I was, and so I asked my mom if I could take from the same teacher, and I became better than her. That was what happened. So.
Now, still about beginnings, how did you end up playing the classical guitar?
So I released a heavy metal instrumental album when I was 15 of all instrumental songs I wrote. I had it like fully produced and everything with drums, bass, more guitar, of course, more guitar. And my mom started sending out the album to people, because my mom was pretty much my manager for a long time. She was like my biggest fan, helping me with everything. I was 15 at the time. I didn't really know.
She posted a video.
She posted a video. So yeah, she sent this album to a bunch of people, and my sister actually went to Pepperdine University in Malibu for a year. She went, and my mom heard about the guitar department there. So she sent the album to Christopher Parkening, the head chair of the guitar department there, and he responded and said he'd love for me to attend a master class at Pepperdine. And I had never heard of the classical guitar. I was kind of at a point in electric playing where I was learning all these songs, and I was kind of like, okay, what else is there in the guitar world? You know, what more can I do? And when I heard about the classical guitar, I was like, this is something different. Like, I think this would be fun for me to experiment with. And so I went to the masterclass and watched it was a 4-hour masterclass, just totally, I was just blown away by the sound that one instrument could create. I'm so used to playing with a drummer and a bass player, but then you got one instrument and someone making these amazing sounds on it, which I thought was the coolest thing ever. So yeah, I fell in love with it that day, and I remember starting to take lessons from Kevin Enstrom, the adjunct professor there, the next week. So
I told you before that yesterday I was in a plane coming and I watched the movie, the Space Jam, and it said Burbank, California. Oh, these were Garrett.
After your research, right?
And you used to play on the streets in Burbank.
I did, yeah. It's so funny you knew that.
How did,
Yeah, so when I started getting older, when I mean older, I mean like 13, right? I started really taking guitar seriously. My parents were like, we want you to start buying your own equipment. Like we've done it. We've done everything. We got you your first guitar, my first amp, and my first guitar cable. So that's what I had. And they were like, all right, if you want to get anything else, you got to figure it out. And so I remember walking around the streets of downtown Burbank at the time, and I saw some violin player playing. And I was like, oh, I can do this. I can totally do this. So I brought my mini amp. I created backing tracks of 80 songs, and I went on the street. My mom would take me, watch me 3 to 4 times a week. I'd go out. She would watch the entire set with me.
And record.
She would record sometimes, but she would just be there supporting me, which I really needed sometimes. Sometimes there was no one, on the streets, but sometimes there was, thousands of people. And I ended up making enough money to buy my first Gibson Les Paul from that. So I was very accomplished. I bought a white one just like Randy Rhoads had in honor of him because he was my biggest influence. So
I really want to talk about Randy Rhoads after.
Please,
I'm saving this part for a different topic.
Check it in, yeah.
Since you mentioned you got the money to buy your Gibson guitar by busking. Moving to the third string now, gear, the guitar. From the video, the famous video.
Yes, yeah.
You got money and...
So I decided to monetize the eruption video that we talked about before when it started to take off. My mom was actually the one to help me do that. Really, honestly, she deserves all the credit for this because
I understand.
I didn't know what was going on. Yeah. The audience doesn't know. You can monetize YouTube videos when they start to get a certain amount of views, and every advertisement that plays, you get paid from that pretty much. And so we took advantage of that before it even got 1 million views. And that gave me enough money to buy my first actual classical guitar. I was playing a Cordoba C7 for a long time, and it was great, but there's only so far you can go with a guitar such as that. So I was looking for Ramirez because I was studying, under a professor at Pepperdine. And I also have relatively big hands, so I knew I could, play Ramirez. I heard the horror stories of the 664 neck and everything like that, but I bought this guitar on Reverb from the Midwest, and
I don't know how familiar people are with the Reverb website, but it's a place where you can find...
Yeah, reverb.com. It's like eBay for musicians, so you can just find a lot of good finds are there. And I remember, because finding a specific niche guitar, I was looking for a 1960s Ramirez, and that's a tough guitar to find. Maybe in the 70s or 80s it was easier to find in Los Angeles, but you have like your Guitar Salon International, which is a place you can go and try the guitars, but there's also the option of finding it online.
So how many before this one you tried?
I tried probably 4 or 5 Ramirez's before. All great guitars, like they're amazing, but there's there's a difference between an amazing and a virtuosic, concert level guitar.
Yeah.
And this is that.
So this is a 1968
68
Ramirez.
Yeah, so CLL is the stamp on it. It's a 1A built in Madrid.
Do you know the details about this guitar?
I don't know too much about it. Honestly, I'm just more of a, how does it sound? That's my guitar, But I know it's Brazilian rosewood on the sides and back, and it's a 664 neck, really beautiful. Got these Klingons right here for performing. I put that little stick on it, but yeah, I need to clean it, but it's overall just a beautiful instrument.
How was it when you got it? What did you get from a person that was playing it?
No.
Or?
So the person who owned this guitar, his father had the guitar, bought it in the 70s, and just left it in. It was actually made out of it's called a leaf case, which are made out of like a concrete-like material. It was like a 40-pound case when she shipped it to me. And it was like designed to be indestructible. And it wasn't taken out of the case for like 30, 40 years. And he finally was like, I don't need this guitar sitting here. Like I'd like the player to have it. And so it was just in great condition, no cracks, barely any scratches, like besides what you can see. But yeah, it just sounded so good.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
And I know you have many instruments. I can see on your Instagram. And you just got a Martin, you said, acoustic.
Just yesterday, actually, I got a Martin. It's a D28 1968 Martin I bought at a guitar shop out in New York called Chelsea's Guitars. And I'd been looking for that guitar. I've been looking for a 60s Martin for a long, long time, saving up for it. And I came across this, in this tiny guitar shop, man. There's maybe 40 guitars in there, like super narrow New York kind of style. And I couldn't sleep the night after I tried it. Like I played it and I genuinely could not sleep. It was horrible. But I woke up the next morning and I was like, this is a sign. And I remember going back in. It was a 1968 Martin II, 1968 Ramirez. I was like, something's telling me that I need to get this guitar. So yeah, I just got that. That was my dream guitar ever since I was a kid. So it's a great sounding instrument. I'm really happy to have it now.
I like that you mentioned dream guitar.
Yes,
we're gonna move to the dreams.
Okay, let me cut this real quick.
Don't worry, you're fine. I feel that for every musician, everyone has a dream of performing for huge audiences and have your music being presented on a stage for many people. And you did that when you were very young, right? Was that a dream for you already to perform for many people?
So I played the Randy Rhoads Remembered show in, 2013, 2014, around there. So the Randy Rhoads Remembered show is a show that is held every year in Anaheim as a memory for Randy Rhoads. He passed away when he was 26. And they have different players come out and play Randy songs at this amazing venue. And so I got invited to do it by my teacher, Janet, at the time. She wanted me to do it with her. So I did a show with her. I was 13, I think, and I was just absolutely terrified. It was the biggest audience, 5,000 people, sound guys everywhere, legends walking past me. I remember Bumblefoot passed me and I was like freaking out. And so all these amazing guitarists, and I was just this young kid. But it was truly an amazing experience. I really when there's like 8 other people on stage with you. Now looking back on it as a classical guitarist, you're the only one on stage and it's terrifying. But when you have 8 other people, it's a little more relaxed because you can kind of sit back and not everyone's staring at you,
Now, talking about classical guitar, do you have any dreams performing as a classical musician?
Yes, most definitely. So kind of my goal with this whole thing is to mend the worlds of rock music and classical music with the two styles of guitar. So, doing that, whether that means doing solo concerts or performing with an orchestra, doing a concerto, that's still something I will be very much pursuing because I just love this instrument so much. And I think that, there's going to be a time where people are tired of oversaturated music. And I really feel that the thing that they will come back to is something that's real and intimate. And that is this instrument right here. There's nothing but what's coming out of the sound hole. And I really think, and I've even noticed like people who are, our age are starting to really kind of be like, what is different? What can I listen to there's not a ton of compression, there's not 100 different samples on it, like what is less? What less is more? And I really think that the classical guitar is a perfect element for that.
Tell me more about this part that you just said about people being sad. Do you think about this a lot?
Oh yeah, you have to think
future of music.
Yeah, it's like, what's the point of music if you're not thinking about your audience? Music is not for it's for me, but at the end of the day, it's for other people. Like on stage, I'm not playing the concert just for me. It's like I'm trying to entertain. You have to think about the age demographic, where people are coming from, things like that inspire your repertoire, inspire what you're playing. I really put that in mind. That's something that I really appreciate. My professor, Christopher Parkening, he really emphasizes with us. He's like, look first at your audience.
What is your repertoire you feel?
Right now?
Yeah, the thing that you really connect to.
Oh yeah. I've been playing the Bach Chaconne from Violins Partita number 2 a lot lately, and that's just I had that for 4 years now, and I'm really starting to feel connected with the piece more. For those that don't know, the Bach Chaconne was written after Bach came home from a trip and found his wife had passed away while he was gone, and he wrote this just incredible suite. And so the Chaconne, the final movement, is this 13-minute just powerhouse piece in D minor, and then goes to D major and then back to D minor, and it really just conveys emotions of loss, you know. And over this last, you know, few years, I've experienced more loss than I have ever in my life with people, and so that kind of connected to me when I was playing this piece. I was like, I kind of understand maybe what Bach might have been going through when he wrote this piece. And even Segovia said that you can't perform the chaconne until you're at least 50 or 60, you know, because you need to understand what loss is like.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I had a teacher that used to say this.
Yeah.
You have to live more to play this piece or to play that piece.
Yeah.
You have to experience more in life.
Yeah, it's
and
crazy.
It definitely helps. And I really think you have first to connect, and then you can reach out to the audience.
Yeah.
If you're just playing without knowing, you won't.
Exactly. Yeah.
Talking about the future of things, the fifth string, we asked artificial intelligence to come up with some questions. So I wrote your profile on ChatGPT. I said, "Can you give me 2 questions for Garrett?" So
This will be interesting.
I'm gonna read them to you. Can you share with us a memorable experience from your early days of busking on the streets of downtown Burbank? How did those experiences shape you as a musician?
Yeah, I can most definitely share you. So playing on the streets, people aren't always nice. You get that itching?
Yeah.
Thank you. People aren't always kind and respectful. I've had a few experiences. I've seen people get in fist fights in front of me. I was like a 14-year-old kid and people were just fighting. My mom was watching and I was just kind of like playing Guns N' Roses while these people were going at it. Another time this guy came up to me and started playing my guitar while I was playing. I literally was playing a song and he started strumming on my guitar and he's like, "That's a nice guitar." And I was like, "What are you doing?" Like, "Stop." And things like that, just like, but I learned my biggest takeaway from busking is not caring what other people think. You know, I really learned how to just relax, and because there are 1,000 people walking by, maybe only 10 of them are listening to me. Like the rest don't care. And that really just opened my eyes to forgetting about the stage fright and just being like, I'm just playing, you know, I'm playing to make other people happy and I'm playing for them. But at the end of the day, like, I'm the one playing.
Second one now. You took part in competitions, right? Classical
competitions, correct. Yeah.
And the second question is about this. Winning competitions such as the Go Hard and Ovens, is that how you say it?
Yeah, Go Hard and Ovanes, yeah.
And placing in the Parkney International Young Guitar Competition must have been incredible achievements. How have these experiences impacted your growth as a musician, and what lessons have you learned from participating in such prestigious events?
Wow, it's a good question. ChatGPT really did well with that one. Yeah, so when I was younger, I used to compete a lot. That was kind of what I was practicing towards, you know, not being in school at the time for guitar. I just kind of didn't really have much to prepare for. I was like, I'll just do competitions. So that was kind of a big part of my life as a young classical guy. And I learned a lot. I learned what judges look for in particular compared to audience members. How to play for, you know, a group of guitarists is very different than playing for a bunch of people who aren't familiar with the instrument. But I really learned the most from the Parkening International Guitar Competition when I did that. That was right before I went to school there, so I was a senior in high school. And I just learned a lot about what it's a week competition, like being in a competition that long, how to manage your stress, how to stay engaged with the rep you're playing even after you played the same thing yesterday.
Moving on to the last string. There are 3 things that I really want to talk about on the last string.
Cool. Yeah, these are your questions, right?
Yeah. So you mentioned Christopher Parkening. It's his competition, right? He's one of the judges. Or he's the only?
No. So he doesn't judge at all.
Oh, okay.
Which I think is great because, you know, all his students would just do the competition probably, right? But no, so he picks a panel of judges. And they're most of the time not guitarists. It's usually 1, maybe 2 guitarists on the panel of judges. But he usually has, you know, high-level producers, you know, corporate music executives, people like that judging the competition. But yeah, he just runs it. He helps like lead it and obviously give it its name. And
you mentioned the master class before, and then this competition was right before you went to school there. Once you became a student there, you started taking lessons with him.
With Parkening, yes.
Before, were you taking classes with him or not?
I remember I took 1 lesson with him. I would show up to the studio sometimes at Pepperdine and just like peek my head in and see kind of what he was doing to get ready for it because I was a senior at the time. But I had 1 lesson with him on the Bach chaconne actually when I was a senior in high school, which was the craziest thing. I remember it was like 6 p.m. on a Tuesday night, like after hours kind of, but we just had this amazing 2-hour lesson on the piece and he was really happy I was learning the piece, you know, because it's one of the greatest piece in the world, to be honest. So yeah, that was a memorable time. And then, you know, obviously the next year I started actually studying with him.
I used to listen to his recordings, and when I saw him for the first time, I was like, oh, it's Christopher
It's
Parker.
him, yeah.
How is it taking lessons with him weekly?
It's insane. You kind of, the starstruck aspect is like for the first year, and then he's like your friend. He's just a mentor in your life that you get to see 2 to 3 times a week. Thank you. It was definitely intimidating in the beginning. You know, lessons I'd really prepare almost for a performance more than a lesson, you know, because I didn't want him to be like, oh, this wasn't that great. Like, I was terrified me, the best, you know, one of the best guitarists in the world saying that. But as you get, you know, as you get to know him better and you're in the program longer, I started to take to him pieces that may not have been as developed as, you know, my freshman year. I'd take him new music. I'd mess up in front of him, and at the end of the day, it's a lesson, right? We're learning, and he's there to give you musical interpretation.
The other thing about, I wanted to ask you, your relation with the music of Randy Rhoads.
Yes,
that you're a huge fan, right?
Yeah.
Did you know his story before, just the music, how everything came together?
Yeah, so his story, I mean, it's pretty incredible, you know, how he just came from this classical rock guy who studied classical, you know, studied classical violin when he was a kid under his mom's studio, and then started teaching guitar lessons and really hopping in the metal scene. That really inspired me. And, you know, my teacher being a student of his, I was involved in that scene. I met his family at a very young age. I got to see his studio. I got to see his guitars, do that show, that Randy Rhoads Remembered show. That really inspired me I wanted to be just like him. And something fun about Randy Rhoads is that he started to pursue classical guitar towards the end of his touring career before he passed away. Every single stop he would do on the Diary of a Madman tour, he would find a classical guitar teacher in the area and take lessons while everyone else was doing other things. He was taking guitar lessons, classical lessons. I found that so inspirational, and that was another reason I switched to classical, because I want to carry on that legacy almost a little bit, you know, because he had this amazing metal thing that he was doing, but he also, you know, followed the classical guitar like that. So I thought that was amazing.
So since we mentioned Christopher Parker and Randy Rhoads, I really want to know pros and cons about classical guitar and electric guitar.
Goodness. Remember, you're going to make 2 different worlds very upset with me. No, there's so much. So the thing I really enjoy about the classical guitar is being able to, you know, create all the sound yourself. I really think that's awesome, you know, with the exception of playing with an orchestra or with a partner. But I think that's such a special thing, and it makes it so much harder. It makes it so much harder, you know, to have the stage fright and stage presence, but as well as, you know, technically playing. It's important to be musical, but also clean. With electric guitar, in my opinion, it's a little easier to kind of hide behind some of the, you know, distortion, for example, if you're playing a rock gig, or, you know, hide behind it. But it's so much more fun for me to perform because it's less taxing. It's less, you know, I'm not as scared to play on stage when I have 6 other musicians with me, you know. But I will say, with classical guitar nails, you know, I do a lot of hybrid picking, which means playing with a pick and using your M&A fingers to kind of play as well. With electric guitar, I do a lot of that, and that can start to, you know, make some dents and dings in my nails. So when I have a classical practice the next day, I have to make sure to really file my nails. But I have a lot of vitamins that help with. That's a mom thing too. Take the vitamins, help the nails grow strong and clear. But that's a con about electric, is having to switch back to the classical with the nails. So,
and I'm pretty sure you bring both worlds to the other, like the experiences.
Exactly. I definitely want to start, you know, when it comes to my performance career, you know, playing both. I think that'd be so unique and interesting, getting to give people aside, you know, this like culture-based, like historic instrument, and then with this other, like, you know, more modern thing, the electric guitar. Even though both have cultural and historic roots, but I think there's something so special about this and the electric guitar and the acoustic guitar. So much guitar. Yeah.
Garrett, thank you so much. Do you have all the strings?
I have all the strings.
Can you give us a loud?
Oh, are you going to make sure I'm in tune? Is that what's happening?
Oh, no, I really wanted to hear the...
Oh, Paragons.
I was not expecting.
Almost. Get it after the show.
But Garrett, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure to have you here. I'm a very curious person, and it was great for me to ask you all these questions because I really wanted to know. And thank you everyone for watching this episode of the Augustine Strings Wind Up. It was a pleasure to have you here, Garrett, and I'm pretty sure everyone enjoyed listening to us talking. Keep in tune, follow Garrett on social media, follow the Augustine Strings on YouTube, Instagram, and you can follow me too if you want. Stay tuned for the next episodes.